Hey guys, my name is Luke Dominique Warner. I'm the founder and CEO of Intergreatme, and I've been asked by Nedbank to share the story of how we did a successful crowd raise and how do we do it and how did we do it. And I just want to paint the picture right up front that it's not like we woke up and we raised 32 million bucks. It takes years to make an overnight success, and we've been in the game for 3 years. We started off as employees at a bank ourselves, and then we joined an incubator program and an accelerator program, and we used all of our own cash. Then we used angel investors' cash, friends, family, and fools, some more fools. And then we started to get expressions of interest from our customers. We started getting early customers. We did POCs, we did pilots, then we got customers which paid us. We did a private equity round, we did a BE round, and then we went in for the crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is an amazing instrument to use, specifically if you have a B2C element in your business. What that means is that you've got customers which are bodies like humans, where there are people which walk into shops on a daily basis or they're online on social media. So it's not a business as your customer. That would generally be the crowd. Whereas if your customers are mostly businesses and your users are mostly businesses, then I think it's easier to fund your business using institutional money, private equity money, strategic companies money, and aligning with like a big brother partner. But our business specifically has a large consumer element to it. So what our business does is called Intergreatme. We give you control of your identity so that you don't have to fill out forms. And so you sign up to our platform, you take selfies with your documents, you scan the front, the back, we do facial recognition matching, we link to Home Affairs, we link to the Traffic Department, we link to the credit bureaus, and you give us permission to auto-update all your information in the background. So that if you are going to a bank or telco or an SME or a doctor or an access control point or the Traffic Department, you'll see a little QR code. And the same way you can snap to make a payment, you can snap to automatically onboard yourself. So the people which have the most benefit for our platform are not necessarily large corporates, they're actually the man in the street. And so crowdfunding gives you this amazing thing called market validation. So it means that when we started our business, we did an incubator program, and one of the things they did, they gave us the scary task of going into the Rosebank shopping mall and saying, get 1,000 people to sign up for your business before you build anything. Just draw the little picture on like a 5-point power slide deck and go and approach people in coffee shops and in shops, restaurants, banks, wherever, and say to them, will you give me $100 if I build this product as an early fee? Like, will you give me a deposit? Will you give me like your name, your phone number, your email address, so that when I've got a prototype or a minimum viable product ready, that I can come and show it to you? So that was effectively the first version of crowdfunding, is asking people to say, give me money for an early version of my product. So crowdfunding comes out with different versions. There's like a charity version where it's like a GoFundMe or a Phoenix, where you're just saying, I will sponsor somebody's university tuition, or somebody broke their leg, or somebody got cancer, and it's just charity, saying collectively as a community, let's go help those people. And there's a lot of that going on. And then there's an earlier, the second tier of it. So that would say that the first version of crowdfunding is charitable. The second version of crowdfunding is where it's like a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo type of page. Kickstarter is the easier one for me, where you're saying, cool, I've got this cool product, I've got this special bottle of water, it comes from a mountain, and you're saying, can I get like 10,000 people to say, I will buy this? And then once those people give you the money, then you know there's market validation saying they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. So Tesla did this beautifully, where they built the prototype of the Tesla, and they got 400,000 people to give a $1,000 deposit to say, we want this car, we're on a waiting list. And then Elon said, well, cool, I will build it for you in 2 years' time. But now he has 400,000, I think it was like $4 billion in deposits. So he can go and say to his investors and to his manufacturers and say, I know there's demand for this car. Let's do what it takes to build it. Richard Branson was also really good, where he managed 200 or 300 people to give him like a $200,000 check size as a waiting list to go to space. That's the Virgin Galactic event. So those guys are doing it on a big scale, but like a Kickstarter campaign is doing it on a small scale, where they're saying, give us money to be on the waiting list. And then it shows that somebody wants to buy the solution. Now, equity crowdfunding is the third layer, where you're not saying, give me money for the cost price of my product. So also important on the Kickstarter type campaigns is you're not making a lot of profit the first time around. If your product costs $100 or costs $100 to make and you're going to sell it for like 160, on your Kickstarter campaign, you would say, I'll if you want to buy a hoodie or like a cell phone cover, like I'll give it to you at cost price. All you're trying to prove is that there's demand for your product. Now, in the equity crowdfunding, it's called equity for a reason, is that you're not actually putting down a deposit for an early version of the product. You're actually buying equity in the business. So crowdfunding is a way to scale. I say technology just enhances or magnifies who we are. And the reason it's called scale is it's 0, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. Like you're going up orders of magnitude. So technology gives humans the ability to scale what they were already doing. So we put our personal funds in, sold our pension funds, our bonuses, some prize money, our cars. And then we got our family to invest in us. We got our friends to invest in us. We got our old colleagues to invest in us. And then we got their friends and family to invest in us. So that was what's called angel investing. And we were very fortunate that along the way, a lot of people asked us, can we give you money? Like I've got 500,000 bucks, or I've got 10,000 Rand, or I've got 5,000 Rand. Like they see what we do on a daily basis. They see how excited and passionate we are about our business. And they were asking us, can we give you money? And we were like, I'm sorry, like we're running a real operations here where we've got governance cycles and board meetings and shareholders and issuing share certificate and registered companies. I can't actually take your money because it's not cost effective. The economics don't make sense for me to take your 5,000 Rand and then issue all the paperwork for you. And so I think the important theme that I'm trying to get across here is that we already had demand from our customers and our suppliers and our vendors and the people in our ecosystem. Had already expressed interest to say that they wanted to give us money. I was fortunate to go on the global entrepreneurship trip to Amsterdam, sponsored by Discovery, and we got introduced to crowdfunding over there. There's this company in the UK called Cedars, and some other ones in Europe and in America. And I was also in San Francisco, and I was also introduced to the idea of crowdfunding. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I can go to my customers and my users, the people which are actually going to benefit the most from our platform, and ask them for money. But unfortunately, it wasn't legal for a South African entity to register there. Well, it was legal, but you would have to go and register your business in America or in London or in Amsterdam, and then move your effective management team over. And as a startup, it sounds like a cool idea, but now you've got to get visas, you've got to move your staff, and actually you don't even have money to live to the next month. So this doesn't make sense at that point in your business cycle. So I was always pro the concept of crowdfunding, but I didn't have a regulatorily approved mechanism to do it in South Africa. And then I was fortunate to bump into Tabs by mistake at a conference, the Seamless Payments Conference in Cape Town a couple of months back. And like we met by complete chance, and I found out that she was doing crowdfunding. I first sold her as a customer. I said, what keeps you up at night? And she said, I've got an investment platform, and collecting all these FICA documents is a challenge for me. So I said, don't worry, 20,000 Rand initiation fee Monday morning. I'll do 10 Rand a transaction because we fed entrepreneurs, do it for you at cost price. And well, that's how our relationship started. And then she started picking away, saying like, are you raising funds and stuff? So I said, yeah, we've got another large private equity round going. We're dealing with guys which sell like 17 million SIM cards per month. And like we've won these deals with other telcos. And so they're just going to extend the solution for us. And then she said, but have you considered crowdfunding? And I was like, yeah, I would love to crowdfund, but it's not legal in South Africa. Like there's no one's got an FSB license to do it. And I can't get on the platforms in Europe and America. And then she said, whoa, actually, we do have one. And we've already successfully raised for this beer company called Drifter. And she said, like, they wanted to raise 3 million Rand and they overshot with like 180 investors and they managed to raise like 3.8 million Rand. And I said, wow, that's amazing that you've got it. And I started to inquire more. And then she said, cool, come to our offices, come meet our team tomorrow morning. And I had my doubts at first because, well, we wanted to raise like 40 million Rand or 45 million Rand because that's the round that we were doing. And I was like, but you guys have only raised 3. I'm going to come in like 10 times more. Like, is it going to be possible? And this is where Tabs' team from Uprise decided to take the bet on us. And they said, well, it's not actually about our crowdfunding platform. Our core strength is that we've got the regulatory approval, we've got an FSB approved process and a license and technology behind it. But ultimately, What you're betting on in your crowdfunding platform is not us. You are betting on yourself. You are betting on your 20,000 active users. You're betting that you won the MTN App of the Year Award, the Standard Bank Incubator and Accelerator Awards, the Discovery Global Entrepreneurship Trip, the Accenture Innovation Index Awards, the Startup Awards, that you've got all of these name brand customers which are paying you money. You've got all of these investors and their network. You've got all of your staff and their friends and family. And you've got this traction over the last 3 years. And so what you're betting on is your community and your ecosystem, which already believe and love you, using the crowdfunding source as a way to now unlock the value. So it makes economic sense for a platform like Uprise. If the investments are more than 5,000 Rand, then it makes economic sense for them to pay all these people and the regulatory licenses and the payment gateways to process the share transactions. So I think watch what I do, not what I say. We did crowdfunding where we were at the 3-year point. We already had traction. We already had investors. We had already followed due diligence process. Like, our business is moving from that startup to the scale-up phase. So Uprise has a very thorough diligence process. We had to complete a long online survey, and then they had a 25,000 Rand due diligence fee, and where they pay independent lawyers and financial analysts and an investment committee, and like they tore us apart. Like they had this guy called Mo Khan in Silicon Valley, and like he was interrogating my financial model, which I had paid other people to help me make it. But because I didn't build it myself, I didn't understand the macros, and this guy just ripped it apart. And I went into like this panic. I was like, oh my God, this crowdfunding thing's not going to work. It's already collapsed. But I said to the guy, give me 1 week. I'll build the model myself from the ground up to understand it. And I built the model myself, and I could defend it, and I felt like I understood my business much better. And then we went through we did the financial due diligence, preliminary due diligence, like, is this business something that people want? Is there demand for it? Then there was the financial due diligence, tax clearance certificates, management accounts, bank account confirmations, then the financial model. And they had this independent investment committee, and we wanted to do a management buyout, for example. They pulled back. They said, no, that can't happen. We wanted to have some bonuses and stuff for ourselves as founders, like in like the years ahead. They're like, no, that can't happen. You can only have dividends, but you can pay your staff. And like they basically narrowed things down, like, for the best interests of the crowd, because ultimately the crowd doesn't get to decide. You have one board member which acts on behalf of that crowd. The board member must be independent, but you are allowed to nominate your own board member for them to choose. And so it was a rigorous process. But again, at the end of doing that rigorous process, every time you've gone through a rigorous process, you come out stronger and tougher. And ultimately, it gives the crowd confidence to say, well, every time you've done an investment round or you've reached different tractions or milestones, you become less wrong and you become more right. You'll never be perfect, but it's just about being less wrong and more right. Wouldn't say there's something as right as wrong. There's preferences and consequences. And so by going through this investment committee process, like, we learned a lot. And it was scary because, again, I would only do crowdfunding in a certain scenario that you know that you've got a consumer-facing business. This is my point of preference. And that the scary part for us was, we've been at this for 3 years, and we were wondering to ourselves, is this going to work? We're going to expose ourselves to the whole world, show as much public content as we can, and either the market's going to say, yeah, Intergreatme is the best, like we want it, which is what we hope they did, or it will be quiet and dead, and like nobody would put their money down, and then we'd be like, shit, like maybe we should go back to the drawing board. But we said to ourselves as founders, like, the sooner you find that out, you probably don't want to waste another 5 years of your life on a business that the market doesn't want. So crowdfunding is a way that you have to be extremely vulnerable, and you have to be extremely open and transparent. And you're either going to get that market validation or you're not. And ultimately, if you're starting a business, it's for us, at least me as an engineer, it's purpose first, money second. So you start a business because you're trying to solve a problem, or you start solving a problem. As a consequence, you have to register a business. And your profits and your revenue is how people say thank you for great customer experience, or thank you for solving my problem. So there needs to be people which have that problem, and there needs to be a lot of them for your business to be profitable. So that's what I can say on crowdfunding. My advice to you, if you are an early stage entrepreneur, is build a network, build a community, build a social following. We had 20,000 active users when we started, and it gave us a big advantage. The way we did it is, after setting up this whole process, we already knew that there was demand. We already had access to large emailer lists, probably about 20,000 of our active users, probably about 500 vendors, suppliers, and customers that we were engaging with. Then personal contact list of mine was on my WhatsApp list was about 500 people. And then my founders and my staff, they also had their own lists. So I would suggest that you send out a mailer or like a little Survey Monkeys thing before you go on Uprise, before you pay the 25 grand due diligence fee. I would send a list out, or like on Twitter or Instagram, just send a little survey saying, hey, we're considering crowdfunding. If we were to pursue this, would you invest, yes or no? And if you were to pursue it, how much would you invest? And just leave it open. Don't say 1,000, 10,000, a million. Just say, how much would you invest? With like a little picture, this is what you do. And get that feedback from your community. And if you start getting that positive response, then you can say, there's something to this. So if you wanted to raise, I don't know, 10 million bucks, send the list out to a community and try and get them to say, well, cool, we'll get like 15 million bucks. I mean, that would be a safe bet. For me personally, if I wanted to raise 10 and I send it out and I got like 100,000 bucks come out, I would say that's good enough to go and explore further, to maybe host a little event at your office. So that's, we didn't send the survey out first ourselves. Our survey was happening over the 3 years, where people were asking us to give us the money. We kept saying, no, I can't afford the time and the governance cycle and the time and the energy to process taking your money. So I would recommend the survey to new entrepreneurs now. But then also what we did is we did a private launch and a public launch. So 2 weeks before the campaign, we said to basically, if it was private, we couldn't have it in the social domain. So it was our WhatsApp lists and our emailer lists. And we basically said, you're part of the Intergreatme community, your close friends and family. We are launching this thing on a certain night. There will be a public launch party and a press conference. But because you're so special to us, we are letting you in on this opportunity. And I think we managed to get about 1.7 million Rand from about 120 investors before the launch party. And then even for the launch party, I mean, so we started the WhatsApp list, and it started off as like basically all the staff invested first. Like we gave all the staff like $1,000 to say, cool, just buy a share, because we're trying to get this momentum thing going. And so then we announced like the next day to the WhatsApp broadcasters, hey, we've got 10 investors now. And then like the next morning, 9 o'clock, we've got 20 investors now. And then you're like looking at the thing, and you're like, shit, we are 19 investors. And like we just go and convince anybody, can you just buy one share so that we can announce 30 investors? And we got our security guards to buy shares. We got our domestic ladies. Every single night, I made a pact to myself that I was going to convince my Uber driver to buy at least 1,000 Rand in shares. And it took its time. But what was a learning process is I played a little video each night before they dropped me off at home. And I saw how they responded. And then I had to explain to them how this whole process worked and how we wanted wealth distribution. And the only way I could give them money is if they bought a ticket to the party. So by buying shares in my business, it would enable me to share the fun story with you, but also share dividends with you in the future. And then like, so we did these announcements on milestones of 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, and then we started doing it on 500,000, a million, 1.5 million. And so you're building this hype, and everyone's got like a different risk curve that they're on. So somebody would be like, okay, I don't want to be the first 10, but I'll come in at once there's 50. Or I'll come in once there's 100, or I'll come in once there's 200 people. And you've just got to be patient enough to know a lot. And then when they say no, say, okay, well, what has to change for it to be a yes? So I played jokes with some of the larger investors, and I'd be like, okay, how much do I need to raise before I come back to you? Does it need to be 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, or 24 million, like before I come back to you? And then you write that down on a little pen and paper. Like before I started the campaign, like I literally printed out every single email I've ever sent, like the email lists. You can find a way to do it on Outlook, my contacts list. And I literally sat and I analyzed every single person. And then I put them in an Excel spreadsheet, and I created a power and influence or an impact equation for them. So I put their name down. I think, what's my relationship with this person? Will this person give me money? And will they endorse me on social media? And then I went to their LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook profiles, and I see how many followers do they have. So I said, who's this person? Will they give me money? Yes or no? Will they endorse me? Yes or no? How much money do I think they will give me? And then how much social influence do they have? And then I multiplied how much money I thought they'd give me by their social influence. And then I ranked my list of my 500 contacts. And I said, cool, these are the 20 contacts on the top where I've got to go do dinners, lunches, coffees with these guys. And everyone else I can send WhatsApp messages to, and everyone else can go in a broadcast list. And it sounds pretty ruthless, but at the end of the day, what was fascinating about it is there's always a concept I'd heard when I was younger where they said your network is your net worth. And looking at my telephone book, it was so amazing, and I felt so blessed and grateful that everyone on my telephone book would give me at least $1,000. And if they didn't, they weren't supposed to be there. It was the old person from Cell C in my previous house 3 years ago, which helped me install my fiber, or those were the types of people which weren't going to give you money. But if you had generally been a nice, kind person over your life, people want to support you. So the hard work is done before you do the crowdfunding campaign. It's, are you a legitimate, trustworthy individual? Do you have a purpose, a goal, an aspiration? And are you chipping away at it every day? Are you putting in that effort and creating that success every day? The crowdfunding part was easy. It was almost as if you were planting seeds of goodwill your whole life, as you should be doing each day. And the crowdfunding was a way for you to go and collect. It was a way for you, if you were planting seeds, to go with a basket and go and pick the apples off the tree. It's an amazing way of raising funds. I don't think it's the only way of raising funds. There's this perception that VCs versus the crowdfund. For me personally, I think there's a lack of funding and a lack of jobs and a lack of businesses in the country. And so they shouldn't be competing on who funds the startups. The competition should be, the problem is the competition should be us versus unemployment, us versus slow business practice, us versus slow adoption of things. And so I think the VC should team up with the crowdfunding platforms and say, cool, we've analyzed this business and we will give them 5 or 10 million rand on the condition that they can raise money from the crowd, because then it will give the crowd satisfaction that you've got a smart VC on board which has analyzed the business thesis and will have a smart board member representing the crowd. And then if the crowd is not able to, or is not confident enough to invest after the VCs have said, we will look at this, then the VCs know that there's no market validation. Generally, in order for things to work, like, you need to have buy-in for everyone. It's like you starting a party with your friends at home and you're saying, cool, who's going to bring the fire, who's going to bring the drinks, who's going to bring the music. It's also like starting a party on a dance floor. If there's one person dancing, it's a retard. 2 people, a couple of fools. 3 people, more, couple of fools. But up until you got about 7 people on the dance floor, people are too shy to come and join. But when you got more than 7 people on the dance floor, people are like, okay, it doesn't matter how silly my dance moves are, I can have fun. So at the end of the day, I think crowdfunding is a great mechanism, but it's a tool. If I'm a plumber or electrician, I don't come in with a star screwdriver and say, I'm going to solve this with everything. I come in, first, I don't come in with any tools. I come in and I assess the situation, the problem, and then I go get my toolbox and then I say, well, what tool do I need to solve this problem? So crowdfunding it's a tool in order to access your community and ecosystem that you would have built goodwill with over time, and that they believe in you. So I hope that's been helpful. We're extremely grateful and feel blessed with our response from our community. It was far more overwhelming than we possibly expected. We thought it was going to be a full 60-day campaign. I thought we were going to drink Red Bulls and energy drinks and just die after that for 2 weeks and go fall asleep on a beach somewhere. And so the fact that it happened much sooner, we're very grateful for. I wish you the best on your journey. If you think there's a way that I can help you out in some way, with my business or mentorship or something, I will help where I can. Generally, my principle is I will help, but if I can see that you don't believe in yourself, then I won't help. But if I see you believe in yourself and you're working on it every day, I will share my time with you. Cool. Have a great day. Cheers.